Hello, welcome to the New Jersey Wedding Podcast, the authority for people planning their wedding in New Jersey, whether you're in New Jersey or parts far away. A lot of people listen to us from all over the world. I am Celia Milton, and I'm here with my podcasting partner, Andrea Pertel. We are both professional wedding officiants in New Jersey. We cover the whole entire state, so no worries about that. Today, we're being joined by Alexandria, the owner of Everlasting Events, who brings a unique blend of patience, organization, and unwavering drive to the world of weddings. Those are three qualities that you may be running out of if you're really close to your wedding. She comes with a long history of parties and planning, from assisting her family's annual fundraiser to decorating elaborate Halloween parties to intricately orchestrating European vacations, and even strategically mapping out Disney World to conquer every major ride in 2 days without losing anyone in her family. She has always been a natural-born planner. Her decade-long career as a behavior analyst working with children on the autism spectrum has honed a profound level of planning and observation and attention to detail, invaluable skills that translate into every aspect of her life and her work. Anyone who's planning a wedding knows that details and timelines seem to multiply while you're not even watching. By the time she'd finished the thank you notes for her own wedding, which she planned in May of 2019, she realized that this passion of hers could become her calling. And after the pandemic, she took the plunge and launched Everlasting Events. She creates everything from backyard gatherings to grand ballrooms to lavish extravaganzas to intimate micro weddings, relishing the chance to help her couples express their unique personality by creating a collaborative partnership and taking the time to truly understand what they have in mind and what they hope to create. With a soft romantic touch, she's dedicated to ensuring every wedding day is exactly as the couple pictured it, creating everlasting memories infused with their personal style. So, good morning, Alexandria. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Just fantastic. Tell us about, a little bit. What was the pivot point that made you decide to start this company?
Sure. So I knew I absolutely loved my career as a behavior analyst working with kids, and I was doing it every day. After about a decade, now it's been, I think, 13 or 14 years of it, I knew that when I started my own family, I wanted to be home a little bit more. And I wanted to be able to reserve that patience for my own own family.
Right.
And not use it all at work every day. So I actually started planning and prepping in 2020. And when COVID hit, I was basically halted in that. And then I waited for things to lighten up a little bit. And I knew that once all of the COVID restrictions lifted, that would be a good time to get started because all of those weddings were happening, or a lot of weddings in 2022. So It was the perfect time to jump in and just go for it. So I opened my business, I announced it, and that evening I found out I was pregnant with my first daughter.
Cool.
My only daughter. So I basically had two babies at once and went for it with both of them.
Sounds. Yeah, it is two babies at once.
Yeah. I love the follow your dreams. You know, you have to have something you really love to jump off and start that, you know. So congratulations to you. So tell us about what services you offer.
Sure. So I offer anything from the month of coordination, which is very similar to a day of coordination. I just don't call it that because
we all know it's not day of.
Yeah, you can't. Hi, I've never seen you before, but I'm going to make this perfect.
Yeah, that never works.
No, it doesn't.
All the way through to full wedding planning. So when I say full, I mean you just got engaged and you have nothing. You don't have a venue, you don't have any sense of, what it is that you want. So I can help with figuring that out, kind of going through all the different options and narrowing down the huge list of venues that we have in New Jersey and PA and
Oh, yeah.
all the places, essentially narrowing that down to be more what the couple wants and not overloading them with 100 options.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really, obviously maybe it's the second thing that they do if they found you first, but it's the biggest choice that they're going to make. And it does dictate a lot of other things, style wise and budget wise too.
Yes, definitely. I prefer working with couples from the very beginning because for me, I really like to get to know everyone that I'm working with and plan the wedding around that. So if I'm working with a couple and they just got engaged and they don't have a good sense of what they're looking for, then we really talk about, what it is that they both enjoyed doing together. Where did they have their first date? Where did he propose or where did she propose? All of those things really play a part in creating finding the right vibe and the right space for them. And my favorite couple one of my favorites, I should say, that I've worked with, they ended up doing their wedding at a ping pong bar. And we just turned it into a venue. And it was really cool because for them, that was something that meant a lot. There was a lot of art all over the walls. It was a very unique spot. And, you can pretty much have a wedding anywhere you want, as long as you have someone to help make it come together.
Right, right. I love that, to pick a space, to personalize your space. That's really cool because I find that a lot of couples are personalizing their wedding in so many ways with the space, like the ping pong bar. And for most couples, it is their first time that they're throwing a party that reflects them as a couple, their wedding. It's the first time as a couple doing it. So that's pretty cool that you can accommodate that and personalize the space, help them find a space perfect for them. Where do you travel to? You're based in New Jersey. You said New Jersey and PA?
Yeah, so I will go anywhere. I am a traveler. I love it. So I'm happy to go wherever it takes me. But mostly, I would say I end up in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, the suburbs, Philly, that whole area, and then Delaware. So I kind of go all over the tri-state area. I have done weddings in DC and Maryland, and I have one in New York. So it just depends on what people are looking for.
Yeah. And for the full day, we can talk about exactly what the month of covers, but for the full package, how far in advance should a couple contact you? Like, what's the great time? I know people do it short notice sometimes too and want to do a wedding quickly, but what do you advise them? How far in advance?
So I would honestly say that depends on what the couple is looking for. If you are looking for a fall wedding, then it's got to be planned, I would say, at least a year and a half, earlier than that, so you can get the fall date that you're looking for. I know those go very quickly, and in most venues, I feel like they're the first to go. I know myself, I'm booked through fall 2026. Fall tends to be that time frame that everyone wants. So in that case, I would say earlier for sure. But if you're looking to do spring or summer or, a winter wedding and you're open and you're a little bit more flexible, then a year out is completely reasonable.
Right.
I've planned a wedding in just 3 months, and that was very stressful. I do not recommend it.
But you're right. Those you got to think about, like the a February and March date isn't going as quick as those beautiful fall days. But those winter weddings can be pretty too, and you can get some good prices for venues sometimes during those off months, those less popular months.
Definitely.
I think that, people, I don't, I think people who are planning weddings don't necessarily think that there are other people who are doing the same thing. Like, you are probably not the only person who's thinking of Columbus Day weekend in 2026. And you should probably, what I tell my people too is that, there's going to get to be a point where you are not talking about place card colors every day. If you start far ahead of time, you get your big things in place, there's going to be a period of time where you don't have to talk about planning every day. You can return to your normal life as it was before you got engaged, which is, kind of a nice break. It really is.
Yes, definitely. I try really hard to go at the couple's pace. So I always ask my couples that I'm working with, how quickly do you want this planned if we have enough time to give it some leeway? And if we do have time, then I might, they might say, oh, we want to plan the venue and then take a break for a couple months, and then we'll find the rest. And if we have the time to do that, and they're flexible and they're not looking for a specific person or a specific, very popular photographer or florist, then we can do that. But if we don't have the time, then I'll lay it out and give more structure and more deadlines. I try to go based on what the couple wants and prefers, because everyone's different. And sometimes if you give somebody a deadline, they get really stressed. And my goal is to make everything stress-free.
Yeah. I find I have a lot of couples planning their wedding. I'm working on their ceremony with them, that they think they're going to do it all themselves, and then it gets closer to their wedding day,
right?
And it gets like 6 or 4 months out, maybe 3 months out, and they start getting very stressed. And then that's when they're going to call you at Everlasting Events and say, we need that month of that help managing this, because the stress starts to get to them and it starts to not be as fun anymore. And so that's when they hand it off to you and say, I've realized, and now I want to enjoy it. Help me.
Yeah, we need help. We need it now. Yeah. I also find too that the more, and we've talked about this with a lot of different pros that we've talked to, the more that couples are planning to do it themselves, the more they really need somebody to orchestrate that all, because you can't do it yourself on the wedding day if you want to have any fun at all. You cannot be setting up centerpieces. Your bridal party does not want to do that. They do not. They will not.
Yeah, if you have chosen a barn or something like that does not that you're going to do DIY, you can have fun making the centerpieces at home if you're real crafty and stuff. But the organization of the day of, you really need someone like Alexandria to do that.
I find that a lot of people who do book the month of, it is, as you're saying, like 3 to 4 months out, where they're realizing that they have a lot more decor than they thought, that, the venue is not going to set up for them, or they're realizing that they have no idea how the logistics of transportation is going to work, or, that their vendors haven't checked in with them yet and they're getting worried or nervous. So a lot of the month of package, I start 2 to 3 months out even. So that way, they can feel comfortable, and we come up with that timeline together. And I really just combine every single timeline that they have, from catering, DJ, photo, all of them, and make sure that they all match, because often they don't. They're 15 to 20 minutes apart with various details. And that can be very confusing on the day if they're all trying to follow different timelines. So I combine all of that, and then I also start talking to the vendors right away. So I probably check in with vendors a little bit too much, but
I don't think that's possible.
Yeah.
Important. So
as a wedding vendor, I very much like it when the couple has a planner, because that's the person I can check in with without and ask any questions without bothering the couple, you know.
Exactly.
It's really great to have that person to check in with and, you know, make sure everything's right and,
Yeah.
you know, without bothering them. I love that. You mentioned photos. You guys, you also offer a photo booth, correct?
Yes, we do. I started that last year, so we had our first full year of it at this point, and it's such a fun add-on to weddings who, you know, may want something fun for their guests to do. I found a lot of weddings that I was working on, the last question after we got through all the planning was always, you know, what are my guests going to do? What's going to be fun for them? Whether it was live painting or a photo booth or like various ideas that people had. So the photo booth ended up being something that almost every wedding seemed to have. So it was a very easy transition to offer that as well.
Yeah, photo booths are fun. They are a lot of fun. And they certainly have come a long way in the 14 years that I've been doing this. When I see them, right, they're so digital now and very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we offer a digital version that sends the photos to you within seconds. And then we also offer the printouts. So what's nice is you get a live gallery of everything. So you will pretty much have every photo taken immediately as it's happening.
That's cool. That's cool.
Very cool.
I think that people, you know, there are things that really can help conversations start too. And, you know, I get a lot of, you know, when I'm on a bunch of different forums and people ask me wedding questions, like, no kidding. And, you know, one of the questions I get a lot is, well, what about my single guests? What are they going to do? What if they don't know anybody? It's like, well, I don't know anybody at a wedding either, except the people that hired me, and they're usually busy. So it's like I always find people to talk to. But I think, you know, having something like a photo booth or some kind of like fun station, they can, you know, a conversation is going to ensue. And I think that that's really great. I think that's a good byproduct, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I always like to ask this. Are you are you seeing any certain trends? I don't know that there are too many trends this year. You know, I remember some years back the burlap trend,
Oh,
things like
gosh.
that. But are you seeing any trends that you particularly like that are going real well this year, or not really?
So I try not to focus too much on
Right.
trends.
Yeah.
A lot of my couples don't like the trends,
Yeah.
or they are looking for something to go away from the trends. But I have noticed that the big ones are bows. I feel like there are a lot of bows
Yeah.
everywhere. Uh, and sometimes they look really nice, depending on how it's done. And then I also see, I don't know if this is considered a trend, but I see everyone doing a champagne tower. That's the latest thing that I'm
Oh, gosh.
seeing everywhere.
You know, people who like champagne, that would be me. We know that by the time that anybody gets to one of those glasses, it's going to be flat and gross. I look at it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just, I understand the photo ops of it, but maybe you could just do it with like margaritas or old fashions or something, you know, and like just leave the poor champagne alone. Okay, I'll
Yeah,
stop
it's
now.
a lot of setup.
Yeah, I
Actually.
liked the trend with the small pearls on the
Oh, I love that.
veils, especially on the veils or on uh, the dresses throughout the dress. I still see that a lot, but it was a trend like 2 years ago, and I thought that was quite
I
beautiful,
love that.
you know. And yeah, I know there are other trends where that people are including in their you know vendors and things like that, whether it's photo booth or you know videographers more often now and stuff. But yeah, that's funny. The bows. I'm going to keep an eye out for that.
Big bows. I had a big bow last week, and it was a gigantic bow instead of a train. And I have to tell you, Madam looked like fantastic.
Oh, really?
It was gorgeous. And
I love
she,
it.
you know what? She had a big bow.
Yeah.
It was a very plain silk, you know, silk satin dress with no embellishments whatsoever. Just the big bow on the back, and the bow had all the little pearls on it. Oh God, it was gorgeous. Oh my God. Yeah, it's cool. We're seeing a lot of people doing their vows privately too. That's something that I really notice. And and when I talk to my clients who are going to do they're going to write their own vows, but they've decided that they do not want to talk in public, which most people don't. Um, one of the things I always tell them to do is to, first of all, well, I tell everybody to do this, write it on something cute. You're a photographer. The reason you're doing your first look is so that it can be captured. Do it on something nice. But you also that's one of those things that you need to allow extra time for. And, I feel like one of the big things that planners can do that is really helpful to the overall quality of the whole day is to make sure that there's time for the things that need to happen and extra time for things that didn't exactly go our way. It doesn't mean it went wrong. It's just, I have a couple leaving my venue to go elsewhere. You probably do too, Andrea, to go to the beach to take pictures and come back. This takes more time than anybody thinks. And, a lack of time, I think, makes everybody a little bit crazy. And that's where a good planner can really lead people in the right direction.
Yeah, I often will build in an extra 10 minutes of buffer time pretty much throughout the timeline.
Yeah.
For various points, because I know that even if you say it'll take you just 5 minutes to put your dress on and it's just a zipper, it's never 5 minutes. And
No.
it's usually 15, and then you have to take photos of that. So
Right.
it's definitely something that requires a lot of planning and a lot of thought. So
Right.
I give my couples like a 50 to 60 questionnaire essentially of every single thing that you can imagine. Like, are you doing a first look with your dad, your mom, your bridesmaids, your groomsmen? And then are you doing a first look together? Because those things also take a lot of time. Or are you reading private vows is a great one. I see that very often.
Yeah.
People just whip it out and I'm like, wait a minute, we didn't discuss this before.
Yeah.
So
I know.
we kind of find the time and make it work.
Like, what unity candle? I have no unity candle here. I know. It's like when you look at the program and you get there, it's like, we're doing what? It's like, well, we've been talking for a long time. We never talked about that.
Yeah, the ceremony especially, I find people will add things in last minute. Or they'll think about it at the last second and they'll decide something. So I always do a final call the week of the wedding too, just to ensure no changes have come up.
Yes, that's very important. It's my crash kit is the size of my car. It's got like everything. It's got fake rings in it. It's got pedals. If I could fit a flower girl in there, that would probably be a great thing to have too. But it's a little car, How do people work with you? Do you work with do you interview them? Do you have a set amount of meetings or interviews along the way? How does that usually work for you?
So, what's nice about all of my packages, with every single one, I don't limit the number of meetings or contact. So, for me, I find I'm here to help you be less stressed about your wedding. That is why you're paying money to have me, right? So, it would make me stressed as a person to think, oh my God, I have 2 meetings left. I need to think of every single question
Right.
I have for her, and I need to write it all down before we get to this meeting. That's not what I want. I am constantly talking with my brides. I'm either texting or emailing. It's whatever they prefer. Whatever method of communication you prefer, that's what I'll do. And from that, we can have real discussions about things. And then I can shoot you a quick, hey, are you doing private vows or not? And then I know as I'm doing that in the moment, and I can talk with the vendors about it. So I find it's not just 1 or 2 meetings with the month of and, so on, but it's unlimited based on when we get started. So for the month of, it's let's say 2 to 3 months out. For my partial package, that would be as soon as you hire me. And that's really
Right.
couples who are, we have some vendors booked and now we're kind of realizing how stressful this is. And, you book the rest of the vendors for us. And that's when we'll start and we'll have our meetings. And I do everything on Google Drive. So I have my Google Sheet that I'll share that has every single piece of information that you will need, and it's all organized on one document, so it's super easy to use, and I get all my questions answered there. That way it's all in one place, and we can communicate on that because it's in real time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds
I
like a
always
plan.
like it when I get the Google Doc, like maybe the week before the wedding, showing the whole timeline, making sure that I'm coordinated. Oh, yep, that's the
Oh,
same
yeah.
on my timeline, and then it will also list the other vendors and their their contact.
Yeah.
And that's a great resource for me for knowing who to touch base with, but also when afterwards, when I post on Instagram, I can easily tag them. I like that. I like the organization of getting that timeline from the planner.
I do too. It's a good confirmation for us too.
Yeah,
That,
always look through,
we're,
make sure my contact phone number is right on there, that, yep, I'm going to arrive at that time. That's what's in my schedule too. Good.
I know, and I am at the right place. Yes.
Exactly. I always put the vendor list, their Instagram handles, and all of the addresses. So that way everyone has every possible place they need to be.
Yeah.
Very good idea. You can, for my money, you can't like confirm anything enough times. They get 3 or 4 reminders from me the week of the wedding about their license. It's like, oh, I can see their like faces when they see my number pop up. It's like, oh, God, it's her again. What's wrong?
That's another one that I message about, usually on the day before the wedding, just to remind them as well.
Marriage license. And as many times as you remind them, I can't tell you how many times they forget them. Happened with my elopement yesterday.
It's like, this is what you're coming here for. Oh, I did have a girl forget her dress once. I'm like, how do you forget your dress? I do not. And she forgot it in another state, which just made it just indescribably worse.
No.
Oh, poor thing.
I know.
Oh,
It was
she's probably dealing with a lot.
well, she wasn't dealing with her dress. That was for sure. You know what we like to say? It's like, well, we've seen everything that can happen, but that is just it's never going to be the case. There's always something new that can happen. But having another mind there that does, your planners, your pros, we've done, some of us, thousands of weddings. You're doing one, ideally. You're not supposed to be good at it. That's why you have us.
Before we close out, Alexandria, do you have what's your best piece of advice for couples planning their wedding?
That's a hard one.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, my best piece of advice is to specifically chat together as a couple about what it is that you want your wedding day to look like. Because I find that there's a lot of outside opinions and things that get in the way of people planning their wedding, and they end up choosing things that they may not have wanted. So my first piece of advice, if you're just starting out, is really to think about what you want and think about what would make you happy. Because ultimately, it's your day. You're spending the most amount of money you've ever spent on a day in your life. And if it's not going to be what you ultimately wanted, then it feels like a little bit of a waste. So to me, I think doing what you want, and I always advocate for that with my couples. I know it gets a little bit, hairy sometimes with family, but I do advocate that couples should do what they want within what they can, within their budget.
Yeah. Right. Stay true to yourself. That's good. That's good advice. Yeah, absolutely. I want to tell our listeners that we will have a link to everlastingevents.com, to your website, and they can get in touch with you right through your website. You have a contact, a let's chat button. You have a beautiful website, lots of pictures and an explanation of your packages. We will also put a link to your Instagram account. And so our listeners can go right to there, click on them, and get in touch with you and speak with you about helping planning their wedding. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And I look forward to working with you in 2025, 2026, and beyond.
And I look forward to working for you next week.
Yeah, you guys are working
Thank
together
you.
next week. What venue are you guys at next week?
Where are we? We're at Perona, right? Yeah,
The
we're.
old mill.
The Old Mill.
Oh, that's right. You're working with Carrie next week. Oh, that's going to be excellent. Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. Great.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye.
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 This podcast is brought to you by New Jersey wedding officiant Andrea Pertel, owner of For This Joyous Occasion Officiating Services.
And Celia Milton, owner of NJ Vows Now, also New Jersey wedding officiating services. We're up in North Jersey, and Andrea is down in Central and South Jersey. So together we cover the whole state, don't we?
Yes, yes.